don't know if that's a compliment, Isaiah.
I don't know. That seems
No, I mean, that makes sense. I see
Like
that.
TikTok.
like you see.
Come on.
That's the only way it made sense in my head. So.
Welcome to Hired the Podcast, a very special episode of Hired the Podcast for a couple of reasons. One, 50th episode. Noah Cuff, my man, thank you for all of your help getting to 50 episodes. That's pretty cool. But even more exciting, this is the biggest podcast we've ever done. I've done it with a couple people a handful of times, done it with 3 other people once, but they were all here in studio. I've never tried to manage a conversation with 4 other people virtually, and I've got the whole FlexLine team here. Cathy Rinne, who is co-owner and president and co-founder of FlexLine Automation. Lauren Vandemark, Cathy's daughter, who is also a co-owner and the sales and marketing manager. Cayla Sibley, who is customer service specialist. And I didn't fact check this, but I'm guessing the newest member of the FlexLine team, Isaiah Roth, who's coming in as a marketing intern. We get all that. I got all the introductions correct.
Yeah, Isaiah is actually got some seniority on Cayla by like a week, ironically.
Yeah.
And are you both, Cayla and Isaiah, are you guys in school? Are you graduated? This is the first thing after graduating?
I just graduated high school and I go to college this fall.
Oh man, congratulations. This is a really kick-ass internship to have before you even start college. That's going to look good on the resume.
That's the goal.
And Cayla, are you graduated?
I've been graduated 2 years, but I do return to SIUC in the fall.
Oh, what are you going back for?
I am going back. I'm majoring in psychology.
And so how do you go from sales, from customer service to psychology?
Meet these guys. I'm just kidding. I kind of grew up in a...
requires a psychology degree to work at FlexLine. We're a little bit crazy.
So it's going to be that kind of podcast, is it?
That's probably
I kind of grew up in a psychology-based environment, so my mom went, and she never got to finish, but I'm going to go back and finish.
So Cayla or Isaiah, I'm going to let one of you take the lead on this. How on earth did you find FlexLine? What drew you to go work in manufacturing, automation, supply chain? How'd you find it?
So this is the craziest story ever, because this is the first time I've heard one of these actually like work. So there was a career fair going on at my high school. This was like last semester sometime, and Lauren had a FlexLine table there, and I was like, why would I go to this table? Why would I talk to them? I'm going to school for marketing. Why would I do anything with that? But she did have a robot and little like dog treat things. So I thought I would say hi or something just to get some swag. But then she told me like all the different roles in this industry, and it was really cool to just see all those different roles. And she said, oh, I want someone on Canva to like content create for us and do all that stuff. I was like, oh, there actually is something in this industry that aligns with like what I want to do in my future.
What about you, Cayla?
So funny enough, they were my regulars at my last job. I come from the restaurant industry, and they kind of put it out there for me once, and I thought they were kidding. It was actually at a business chamber mixer for my other job. So I thought it was a joke. They kind of dropped it at me a couple more times after that, and I ended up switching sides. So I came from the restaurant industry to automation.
Oh, dude, I remember the first time when I was fully out of the food service industry and I had Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday off all in a row. I thought I had reached heaven.
It's oddly, like, it was cool at first, and then I got to this weird spot where I was like, wow, I have nothing with my life right now. I was like, this is so boring, but I enjoyed it.
I'm sure Cathy and Lauren love to hear that you have nothing with your life.
Well, first of all, I want to just say both Cayla and Isaiah had some experience in hospitality. And I feel like if you can work in hospitality, and deal with the stresses, the pressures, all of those things, you're a perfect fit for automation and manufacturing. You have the people skills. You ask Cayla, why would you choose psychology? Well, isn't that what sales really is? It's 100% relevant to what she's doing today and what she's doing in our industry, because there is a lot of thought that goes into how you communicate to people, how you reach them, what they really mean, what they really want. And so, I feel like a great part of my job is psychology every day, because I have to, decipher what people are saying and what they're meaning, and it may not always be the same. So there's a lot of crossover, but these guys, were scared to come into our industry, which is why one of the big reasons why we thought it was so important for their voices to be heard today, because I think manufacturing and automation integration, we really need a rebrand, because from the outside world, our world looks so intimidating. These guys, when we first approached them, were like, I don't know. You got to be an engineer for that. Or, oh, I don't know. It just really looks scary and intimidating. And it wasn't until they joined our team that they really realized how many different roles are available and how there's a seat at the table for nearly everyone that would like to sit at the table. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to have a master's degree. You don't have to have a lot of that. What you have to have is good work ethic, a willingness to learn, and just some ability to get along with others.
Well, I would also add in that it works really well if you are interested and just enjoy learning new things, because there is so much change and constant innovation in this industry that if you don't like learning, it would be really hard.
Well, it's a lot like medicine. You have to do so many hours of continuing ed if you're going to have any kind of healthcare, medical degree, any sort of licensed practice. You have to have CE hours, and that's true in our business. You need those CE hours because it's always changing and evolving.
And Cayla and Isaiah, what have you seen from Cathy and Lauren so far to help foster this learning? What are they doing to help you continually get better and learn new stuff?
They are two of quite possibly the most understanding individuals that I have ever met. I probably ask the same question 3 times a day. And do you know how nice it is whenever I tell Lauren, oh, well, thank you for helping me with that. And she's like, no, thank you for being willing to help me with that. That's such a contrast from what I'm used to. And I feel like a lot of kids my age, Isaiah's age, kind of that roundabout, I guess, maybe don't feel that appreciation, but we feel it every day, all the time. They are so kind.
No, same. Yesterday, I had to deal with security tape, and I was going all over the place. I was getting stuff. I was a mess. I do some paperwork, and I just don't know what I'm doing, but they're just really helpful, understanding, because that's mainly it. Yeah.
What did you do yesterday, Isaiah?
I was sealing checks. So I was sealing checks, and I was using security tape, and I got security tape on the scissors, and I got it on the desk, and I was like, oh, it'll come off. It doesn't.
You know how sometimes, in a cartoon, they mess with a roll of tape and they accidentally wind up all rolled up in it? It was kind of like that, only with security tape that doesn't come off for anything.
I spent 15 minutes getting off the desk. So it's off the desk now. But
well, and you can tell by that, what we like to do, Travis, is we're very immersive, right? So last week or so, we had a vendor call on us that were bringing some safety sensors and things over. And so we're like, hey, guys, come to this meeting. We want to try to immerse them in every aspect of our business so that they have a better understanding of what we do and how everything works together. And Because Cayla, especially being customer service, she's like the first line of defense when you call the company. And if she doesn't know what we do and how we do it, how does she know how to even route a phone call? Or, who would be a good resource? And so we like to have these guys programming robots. We like to have these guys, involved in sales and vendor meetings. Every aspect of our business, we like to cross train because we want people to understand how the puzzle fits together and realize what an important piece they are in it.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like on our team, the majority of people that work here at Miller Resource Group are in a recruiter or sales business development capacity. But then we've got people like Noah here, who's our video and media content manager. We've got a number of support and research people, administrative professionals, finance, accounting. And we've got a big annual offsite training meeting we're planning for later this year. And we're bringing in a trainer who's specialist in sales and recruiting, in the recruiting industry. Like, well, does that make sense for Noah to sit in on that? And we're like, well, absolutely, because Noah is in this every day. And I actually realized that Noah has probably had more training on the world of work than anybody in our company, because he's sitting here listening to this. I have talked to 50 experts in the world of work and hiring, and then he's got to have the nauseating task of listening to me multiple times as he's editing the video and editing the podcast. So he's had at least 200 hours of consulting on recruiting, business development, the world of work. And I'm guessing he has more training than anybody. And so I think it's incredibly important that even if it's not your job, if you're immersed in the company, it's so much, you become so much more valuable to the organization, and you become more immersed in the organization if you're a part of all of it.
Absolutely.
Well, and I kind of started that way too. So like even at my old job, working in the restaurant industry, I started as a host, worked my way all the way up to front of house manager, started as a dishwasher, worked my way all the way up to kitchen manager. Like I'd done all the things, and I'm really excited to do that here too. I think it's important. I went from doing POs and filing papers this morning to then I was out in the shop and putting little pieces together. I'm not going to say I knew what they were, but I knew that I was putting them together and watching them build conveyor out there. So I'm excited.
You gonna continue working at FlexLine even as you go back for psychology?
Yes. So they're stuck with me for possibly the next 10 or so years. I'm looking to go PhD or doctorate. So,
and we're still hoping that after she goes back to school, that she decides she hates it and she wants to just stay with us all the time.
Well, and it's not that we're not a dysfunctional family enough and couldn't use her services, even, this, Travis, coming from a family business, the family business dynamic is super special. And so, I feel like there's always going to be a role for a psychologist within our company. Always.
Yeah, we just got to build FlexLine big enough to require an in-house permanent psychiatrist.
Goal. Yeah. Hashtag goal.
That's it. Hashtag goal. Yep.
So Lauren, I wanted to ask you about the family business angle, and I'm part of it too. Were you like me, where I obviously didn't have a shop floor, but like 5 or 6 years old, are you there Saturday mornings running around the shop floor causing chaos?
I was very, very glad when all of the people who remembered me answering the phone as a toddler finally retired. Because even whenever I first started working here and I was in high school, I would pick up the phone and they'd be like, "Oh, Lauren, oh my God, last time I saw you, you were 8. I'm like, okay, how do I transfer your call? I'm a little weirded out by this. So, it's, I think like a lot of people in a family business, you learn a lot by osmosis that you don't even realize that you picked up on. Mom likes to joke that that's the reason I aced business law. And there's a lot of truth to that. I definitely didn't struggle with that at all. But also, like a lot of people in family businesses, had you asked me right after I graduated high school, I would have sworn to you that I would rather die than come back here. And then whenever I was actually in grad school, I realized that the priority for me was really to be able to be here, to be able to have the flexibility to spend time with my grandparents, to be able to really deepen my connection with my family and do something that benefits all of our customers at the same time.
And Cathy, I imagine it's wonderful to have somebody like that to be part of the succession plan, but
yes and no. I would be willing to say yes or no. There's still some mother-daughter communication.
Well, we'll say this. When she came back after grad school, I wasn't going to hire her back, and it wasn't that I didn't think she would bring value to the company or that she wasn't great. It was that I really wanted her to get out and get some other experience so she'd have some real gratitude for everything that we could offer her here. And so I really wanted that. And so I said no, and her dad overruled me and hired her. I'm not quite sure how he overruled me because I was the president, but it happened. And I'm not sad that it did. And, there was a lot of difficulty on my end trying to bring her into the business. And, she had different perspective. And I remember when her grandparents were involved in the company. We co-founded the company, my husband and I, with his parents. So, that the generational thing went back even further to the greatest generation and not just the boomers and the X's and all of that. And I remember during the transition years, how difficult it was because I had ideas of how to do things and my father-in-law didn't share those same ideas. And, it was tough. And I realized with Lauren, I didn't want it to feel that way. I wanted her to feel like if she had innovative, better ways to do things, that I was going to be open and supportive. And it's the same with Cayla and Isaiah, because I'm going to tell you, having them in our organization has been a breath of fresh air. They bring enthusiasm, they bring, interest and curiosity and all of the things that I have lost over the years of being, in this job this is my 40th year. But I am very grateful to have Lauren back because not only is she light at the end of the tunnel, but she is absolutely crushing it. And she has done things bigger, better, and she's going to continue to do things bigger and better. And I'm extremely proud of her, and I'm extremely proud of Cayla and Isaiah and the entire organization, the entire team, because everybody really brings something to the table. And I think it's just my job to try to facilitate and make it easier for them to accomplish their goals.
Cayla or Isaiah, have you noticed a difference when working with Cathy or working with Lauren on a difference in their management, leadership, mentorship styles? Maybe just because obviously they're our own separate people, but any patterns because of the different generations? Have you observed that different generations of leaders lead people differently?
Yes.
That's funny.
Yes.
Cayla's going like this and Isaiah's going like this.
Not really.
Cayla, go first while I think about this.
Okay. Honestly, they're both equally excited about teaching us. Like, neither one of them are kind of like stiffing us on any idea that we've had or anything, which, I mean, for somebody who's Cathy's age, not that Cathy's old, she's really young and fun and fresh, but it's like, I've even working previously working with somebody who's Cathy's age is usually like, no, I know better and we're doing it this way. And I've been in the restaurant industry since I don't know, 1902. Like, okay, but this is how we do things now. And I've never felt that from Cathy. Their leading styles are very gentle, and they want us to understand. They don't want us to have an issue. So I think that probably is the biggest part of it. They want us to have fun. They want us to be happy here. So they make things really easy for us.
I think the only comparison I can make is Lauren is like working with LinkedIn and Cathy's like working with Facebook.
I don't know if that's a compliment, Isaiah.
I don't know. That seems
that makes sense. I see that.
Like you see,
come on.
That's the only way it made sense in my head. So
I gotta unpack that metaphor.
I will own that. I do, Travis, think that I am bringing the grandparent vibe because, I'm
that's
a lot
not what
more
I meant
about things than I used to be when I had the mom vibe.
That's not what I meant.
Moms are a lot more stringent and a lot more regimented and, a lot more do it my way, do it. I'm grandma now. I'm like, you know what? Let's play, kids. Let's go do fun things.
I meant LinkedIn is just a bit more professional than Facebook. Which that's not a bad thing.
You're not helping, Isaiah.
I don't know. It's better than grandma, so I don't know.
I'll take the grandma vibe.
Cathy walks in your office. She goes, "Did you know that Flexline? I heard that Flexline is going to steal all of your pictures and keep them for themselves unless you post this piece of paper on your door. Then you'll be fine."
Right? Yeah. There are hard candies in your office. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, facts. But if you look behind me, there's a bunch of minions too. So Isaiah is right. I am a big kid. And so
exactly, that's what I meant. I don't know what
I have that little bit of fun and mischievousness that Lauren doesn't, because Lauren, being our millennial, is very straight-laced and let's just stick with the plan and follow the flow chart, and I'm all over the place, just all over the place.
Well, Cathy, let's turn it around on the others here for a second. What are the differences that you've noticed in leading different generations? How is it managing and leading and coaching and mentoring Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Z and what's next? Gen Alpha?
Yeah.
I
don't think they work yet, though.
They don't work yet? Isaiah, are you Gen Z or are you Gen Y?
I'm Gen Z.
You're Gen Z?
Yeah.
And Lauren, we're both millennials. I'm technically an elder millennial. I'm like the first year.
As am I.
Yep.
2006.
Well, it is very different. And I can tell you, Lauren's dad is a baby boomer. I'm a Gen X. Lauren's the millennial. These guys, being Gen Z, when we have a meeting, it's very interesting, the different points of view. And there's a lot of stereotypical things. Lauren's dad is always like, "Hey, I lost the taskbar on my Outlook. Can you help me find it?" or things that you would expect. That happens sometimes. It's just, it is different. And I think being a Gen X, I'm very stereotypical to my generation because when we contracted with a company to do our social media and stuff, and they were like, "Well, you know what? You guys really need a TikTok." And Lauren was like adamantly, "Not it, not doing it." And so I was like, "Well, hey, I'll do it." So I feel like, my generation typically is the ones that just roll up their sleeves and step in and just get the job done. And just we're very blunt and to the point and don't sugarcoat it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just get it done. So fortunately, I am the only one of my kind in our company, because probably if there were more of me, we might clash. So, but I seem to get along very well with Isaiah's age group. I know a lot of their slang, which is one thing. You got to be able to speak their language. So I spend a lot of time on TikTok researching how to communicate between the different generations. But I mean, I think the main thing is that I try not to take myself too seriously. I I just try to appreciate everybody where they are. And every generation has its little idiosyncrasies. Every generation is, oh my God, they're the worst. I'm sure that the greatest generation, when the X is my generation, oh my God, they're the reason why everything is wrong in the world. I think that just, we kick that can down the road continually. So I am just kind of different in that I love what every generation brings to the table and all of those nuances, because Lauren can see things in ways and reach people in ways that I can't. Isaiah and Cayla, the same thing. They have a different understanding from growing up at a different time and things that were relevant to me. And, one day I said something to Lauren about my Rolodex, and she was just like, what is a Rolodex? Or, we were talking about, well, what makes FlexLine better? And I'm like, well, we still answer the phone. And she's like, oh, Mom, I hate to tell you this. My generation hopes you don't. And I was like, what?
Did we put a text line in?
A diverse group of people really make things interesting and provide for a better, a more complete, probably experience for our customers, because we have customers all over the board. And so if you have a bunch of boomers trying to work with Gen Z's, well, you've got some problems. You've got to have some different dynamics in. And to me, I think it's really fun. And these guys, I will tell you, I'm not that person who's like, you kids get off my lawn. I am more like, I have learned so much from working with these guys. They are so articulate. They bring so much curiosity. I mean, I feel like they have, I've probably gotten 10 years younger since they've been here, just because of the enthusiasm and the energy that they bring. I mean, they make everything seem new and fun again. And that's one of the things that I loved about being an entrepreneur and starting a business, was that everything was fun and everything was exciting. And when you've done something for 40 years, you get kind of in a rut. And so they help shake me out of that. Lauren helped shake me out of that. And I always tell her, you know what, please don't let me just do things the way I always do things. We're getting ready to buy some new software. And I'm like, just don't let me go back and buy DOS something, make me come up to the times. And I think that's helped me stay relevant in the company. And I hope that will continue in that direction, and not, I had somebody tell me the other day, because I'm such a fan of AI and I love it. And I can't wait to see how it's going to make our lives better. And I'm so into it. And they were like, wow, I'm really surprised that somebody your age would be so open to AI, and I was just like, wow. One, I mean, I don't know quite how to take that, but two, it's just like, you can't lose your enthusiasm or your curiosity. I mean, AI is not going to make you irrelevant unless you refuse to stay with the times and be a part of it. And I think that's true of so much that's taken place in the course of my 40 years in business.
I'd imagine that any industry is similar to my industry, and I can't speak to that, but every 10 years or so, something comes along that's going to kill the recruiting industry. First, it was the fax machine and how easy it was to send resumes. That's going to kill the recruiting industry. Then the ability to make cheap long distance calls was going to kill the recruiting industry. Then Career Builder was going to kill the recruiting industry. Then LinkedIn was going to kill the recruiting industry. Now AI is going to kill the recruiting industry. Is it the same in your industry, where something comes along that's going to kill your industry? And it never does. It just wipes out the people who refuse to adapt and learn from the new technology.
Right. I think that's it. I think you either embrace change or change leaves you behind. And I don't want to ever become obsolete. And I think that being able to work with that change, I'm sure the axe guys were pretty nervous when the chainsaw guys came to town, but what did it do? It made the lumberjack's job easier, right? So I think there's always going to be room for change and improvement, and you need to just have fun and accept it and roll with it. And nothing's going to kill our industry. I mean, I had somebody within our organization tell me that the other day, AI is going to make us irrelevant. No, AI is not. What might make us irrelevant is if we choose not to go with the flow and embrace this new technology and find better, smarter ways to work. That's what makes us irrelevant.
I couldn't agree more. So how are, I guess my next question is, how are you planning to utilize that technology, not just for your products, but for continuing to find and develop people like Cayla, people like Isaiah?
Well, after talking to them, we really realized, and I know I mentioned it, that I think our industry needs a rebrand, and how we present ourselves needs to change. And I think we come across as such an old boys club, right? It's like, and we like that. We do really cool things, and we like to talk about the really cool things that we do, but we don't really realize how many people we leave out because some of the words that we use are intimidating or, not all inclusive. And so I think we have to really do a better job of how we present the image of manufacturing and integration and try to break that down so that people realize that, the biggest misconception is, oh, you have to be an engineer to be in this industry. That's false. We have to get rid of that stigma. Sure. Can you be an engineer and be in this? Absolutely you can. But can you still do things that are very relevant to our industry without that degree? 100%. And I think that a lot of times companies make a big mistake by searching for candidates based on such strict criteria that they overlook people like Cayla and Isaiah and me, or, and they aren't really fishing in the right ponds, I mean, you'll catch more if you're willing to change your bait and fish for, broader fare. And I think that there's so many roles and there are so many things that people can do, and just trying to communicate that to the school systems and, through social media. I think social media is a great tool to try to appeal to the younger generation and to try to dispel the myth that they don't belong here or they couldn't belong here.
To Lauren, when you're out searching for people to join the FlexLine team, how are you taking that out there? What are the things that you are searching for that aren't the hard skills? What are you doing to identify the best people, not only in terms of skill set, but in terms of EQ, in terms of mindset?
Most of it really boils down to conversation. You can tell a lot about somebody just from having a conversation with them. And, kind of on the subject of AI and the tie-in there, AI has already made things like robotic programming and things like that easier and easier. And frankly, as Mom has pointed out, you don't have to be an engineer to know how to program a robot, especially a cobot. Things are getting easier and more accessible in that space. And so, you can teach anybody anything if they're willing to learn. So yeah. It's whenever I have those conversations, the first thing that I wind up having to do is to kind of start from scratch, because most people have no idea what I am talking about whenever I'm saying things about industrial automation integration. There's just way too many syllables and their eyes kind of glaze over. But after, I took some product samples to the career day at the high school. And what I did with those is I had a video keyed up just on my phone of what we actually did with those product samples. You get this is how it comes in, this was the problem, and this is how we decided we could fix this problem. And kind of exposing the kids to that with something tactile so that they could actually see like a beginning and an end to the process and kind of demystify it a little bit. Because any singular part of it isn't overwhelming. It's whenever you look at the whole system that it gets scary, right? So we do a lot of that. And I am actively trying to work with local high schools and start programming robotics club type things to get candidates kind of aware that this is even an option. You know, we're in a pretty rural area here, and I would hesitate to argue, or well, I don't think there is any hesitation. A lot of the students in these schools would be phenomenal at what we do, but they have no idea that it exists. You know, they've never heard of a PLC. There isn't a robotics, like a FIRST robotics group close that they've had the opportunity to be involved with. The school systems don't have the resources to be able to provide the kind of extracurriculars that you might be able to get into at some of these city schools, or, you know, if you were in Chicago, or even if you were in like Bloomington Normal area here in Illinois, there are a lot more options and a lot more exposure to things. And so trying to introduce kids to that, and then in spending time with those kids, you have those conversations and you can kind of get an idea of, hey, you know, this guy is really good at problem solving and he might be interested in trying to do an internship, or, hey, she's really, really good at programming something. Maybe she would like to problem solve for a living. I mean, you know, there's so many options.
You're preaching exactly what I preach, but it's also incredibly difficult to do. You know, when we are working with companies, I try and get them to adopt the mindset of, I want you to tell me about the least qualified person that could do this job. Who is the bare minimum skill set to be barely competent? Great. I want to talk to everybody who has at least that level of competency and above. But you make the pond in which you're fishing the size of the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. And so how do you identify who to invest your time with? Because you could end up talking to just about anybody to work for your organization. How do you figure out who has the highest likelihood of being successful beyond those hard skills that you say you can teach?
I think attitude is super important for me. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you talk to somebody and you get a feel, I'm more interested in who a person is as a person. Because if you know them as a person, you know how they're going to handle situations, you know how to work with them and how to help them learn. And I think they can accomplish anything. So attitude is the number one thing. I watched Cayla on a Friday night when things were just going off the rails, right? And people were complaining and the kitchen was screwing stuff up, and she had to have such grace, you know, and be like, I'm so sorry. And she was taking the butt chewing for stuff that she hadn't even done. And she just did it with such a level of grace that it's like, you know what? I know she would be a perfect fit for our organization because she just has the right demeanor, the right energy to fit. And she can learn all the rest of it. The rest of it doesn't matter. You know, she's got the thing that she absolutely needs. And that's what I look for in candidates. I want to see somebody who, you know, has gone online and taken some robotic classes themselves, you know, because all the manufacturers have free stuff out there, or spends some time with YouTube and expresses some interest. If somebody is truly interested, we're going to take the time to help them develop that into something more than an interest, develop it into a hard skill. But, you know, you can't lead a horse to water. And you know that, Travis. So, you know, I think you can have an initial conversation with people and almost know immediately who is for real and who really, you know, wants to have an opportunity and who thinks that they deserve an opportunity, or I mean, there's all different kinds of people. And I think if you work in your industry long enough, that you probably can have a discovery call and know who is who immediately.
Yeah. I always feel bad when I know too soon. I know too soon, and I don't want to be rude.
Right. But you do, I mean, you just know, you can get a square peg in a round hole if you pound it hard enough, but there's lots of pegs out there for the holes, and it's just kind of figuring out who wants to take that next step. And 100% to me, it's attitude. If somebody comes with a willingness and a desire, that's half the battle. The rest of it's the easy part.
Mm-hmm. Was this what you expected, Cayla and Isaiah? I mean, I wanted to, I guess, two questions. Before you joined FlexLine, was this what you expected? And before you even knew who FlexLine was, is this what you thought working in the manufacturing industry would be like?
So I came in kind of with an impression of who Cathy was, who Rhett was, who Lauren was. So I knew, I guess they own the company. I knew I was walking into some fun because I used to call them my Friday night bar crowd, especially Cathy and Rhett. And we used to hang out every Friday night whenever I would work. And so I enjoyed them as people from the very jump. And I think that made me want to work here more than anything. But then whenever they kind of started explaining to me what they do, I was like, oh boy. I am a waitress who I work lunches by myself normally. I might have a full building and it's just me. I run around all day long. I'm constantly on my feet, constantly on the go, or doubles every day and in constant movement. And I'm going to go sit at a desk with a phone. No, no, not at all. So they were super fun people. And I thought okay, this is going to be great. And then they kind of started explaining it a little bit. And I was like, oh boy, I spoke too soon. Then I got here and I'm constantly on the go here, believe it or not, up doing things all the time. And Cathy was making me laugh on Friday because it was me, her, and Rhett. I think we were the last ones here. And it was drop a pin silent. And she was like, it sounds like a morgue. Somebody speak, from her office. And so then we all started going back and forth and talking and joking and laughing. So it's a lot different than what I expected. It's a totally different world in here. And I can't speak for every company, but this one's really cool.
Thank you.
Before I got into the manufacturing industry, I would have told you that it is a sweaty warehouse. And I just want to be there. And before the interview, I was like, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to be sitting in this little corner desk and sit on the computer all day. And that's everything that's gone in my brain. But ever since, it's just really, it's a change because I've always been in the hospitality and food industry. Me and Cayla actually worked at the same restaurant and that was my first job. But it's definitely nice to actually enjoy coming to work.
Here we go. We've got to demystify. We have air conditioning in our facilities. That's it, manufacturers. Put that on the hiring signs.
There it is. We just unloaded the secret sauce in all of our advertising for manufacturing jobs. We need to let them know that there is air conditioning.
Climate controlled.
I love it. Well, Cathy, Cayla, Isaiah, Lauren, this has been fantastic. The 50th episode of Hired the Podcast. Keep it up.
Congratulations. That is
great. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. And congratulations to all of you on building something great over there. Have to have you back for the 100th.
Perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
All right. This has been Hired the Podcast. Big thank you as always to Noah Cuff, our producer. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you all soon.